Hey everybody, today I want to take a little bit of time and introduce you to the world of bromeliads. Bromeliads are a very large plant family that ranges from common items like pineapples are in the bromeliad family, as well as things here in the deep south like what we call Spanish moss, which is a type of tillandsia. And then a lot of people are very familiar with air plants. So bromeliads come in a lot of different forms. They have a lot of similar and shared characteristics, but because they are a large and diverse family, not every one of them can be treated the same, and there are some variations within the family as far as care requirements go. Most of the common bromeliads that you're going to see are going to be like this Neoregelia here. This is the tiger, and then Guzmania is a very common tropical looking bromeliad that you will be seeing in a lot of garden centers, both in the north and here in the south. In the north they're used a lot for houseplants, whereas here in the south we can actually use some of these in the landscape. There are sun-loving bromeliads and there are shade-loving bromeliads. There are some bromeliads that can go in either direction and be happy. There are air plants, which are completely different in the bromeliad family in that they don't require any soil. And in nature, they will generally grow on top of something. Most commonly, they'll grow on branches of trees, on the trunks of trees, and you'll see them up in the air and overhead. And don't normally notice them unless you're literally looking up. And they're usually in little clusters or little balls attached to a tree in the forest. And we definitely see a lot of that here in Northeast Florida. We'll see the Spanish moss hanging, very graceful. Sometimes in the landscape smothering trees, we'll see it. But then we'll also see the air plants themselves, which are the more of the clustering types that don't hang and sway like the moss does. So I want to tell you a little bit about some of these more common ones that we grow. So the Neoregelias are bromeliads that prefer to be a little bit on the moist side. All right, so the soil and the interior of the plant itself prefers to be moist. Now they can dry out between waterings, that's fine, but for most of the year, especially when it's hot, they're going to want to be moist and to compensate for the extra heat that they're experiencing. There are bromeliads that are singular in nature, and there are ones that also make pups. So you may be familiar with different types of aloes that make pups around the side. There are also other types of plants that make small plants around them. These are also in that category. So there are some types of bromeliads that will cluster and clump out around them. They'll send off little offshoots under the ground and they'll pop up around the mother or parent plant, so to speak. They're generally fairly close to the original plant. Sometimes they'll shoot out a little bit away from them. Sometimes that's desirable. Sometimes people don't like them spreading, but they can easily be cut and removed, and you can start an entirely new plant from that, which is kind of fun actually. These can do great as container plants as well as in the ground. Now, with that in mind, it's always good to get to know your plants because you can't treat all of them the same. And that's true even within the same plant family, which I alluded to earlier. Get to know the specific variety. A lot of times we make assumptions when it comes to plants that just because I'm buying this bromeliad, I can treat it exactly the same as this one over here. But just like you and I, we are all individuals. We may all be humans, but we have different preferences and things that make us happy. Well, plants are the same way. And it's really good to get that into your mindset that just because one plant is in the family of the other plant that we may have, that we may not necessarily treat them the same way. So get to know your plants, get to know their preferences, get to know where they come from in the world, and your success rate of raising and growing and propagating these plants is going to go through the roof. The more you know about them, the more likely you're going to be able to provide them the adequate care and situation that they need to not only live, but to also thrive. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you next time.